everybody. I'm Dr. Greg Sloop, and it's time for Live at 5 on this Monday, September 16th, 2024. Hope you have had an absolutely wonderful day. It's our privilege to be looking again at prominent stories and passages in the Old Testament. We're up to Exodus chapter 33, beginning in verse 12. This is the promise of God's presence to Moses. Neat little story at the end of this passage, but let me just take it verse by verse and then we'll break it down as we go. Then Moses said to the Lord, this again is Exodus 33:12. Then Moses said to the Lord, see, you say to me, bring up this people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have also found grace in my sight. Now, therefore, I pray, if I have found grace in your sight, show me now your way, that I may know you, and that I may find grace in your sight, and consider that this nation is your people. So Moses is, my goodness, has been in front of the burning bush in the Midianite desert. He's been before Pharaoh 10 or 11 times. He's seen the miracles of God. He's held out his staff in obedience to God over the Red Sea, and it's parted so they could walk across on dry land. All the many things that have happened, all the many things that he has experienced, and yet Moses is saying, hey, I just need to be sure. That blows my mind, but I wasn't in the situation Moses was in. I wasn't standing there before a million plus people trying to figure out, how will I lead these people? How are we going to make it to the promised land? I don't have to figure out, how are they going to get fed? How are they going to get watered? What are we going to do here? How can we make this happen? The only way I can do this, God, is if I know for absolute sure that you are going with us. And verse 14, and he said, God, that is, my presence will go with you and I will give you rest. Isn't that a great thing? God responds to Moses and his cries for some assurance by saying, my presence will go with you and I will give you rest. We ought to take that as something that we can count on as well. It's not just a promise to the Israelites, but it's a promise to all believers. If you go where God tells you to go, he's promised to go with you. Verse 15, then he said to him, if your presence does not go with us, do not bring us up from here. For how then will it be known that your people and I have found grace in your sight, except you go with us? So we shall be separate, your people and I, from all the people who are upon the face of the earth. Again, Moses says, hey, just to be absolutely sure, I'm double, triple checking. I'm making sure that every I's been dotted and every T's been crossed. If you're not going to go with us, don't move us. But if you're going with us, we'll go. So the Lord said to Moses, I will also do this thing that you have spoken, for you have found grace in my sight, and I know you by name. And then Moses kind of takes it a different direction. He's not asking for that assurance anymore, but he's asking for a little bit of privilege here. He said, I will, oh, I'm sorry, but said, please show me your glory. He was asking for a lot there. He had seen God and he had spoken to him face to face, but as far as seeing his glory, seeing his unadulterated deity, he had not seen that yet. And there's a reason for that. And God's going to tell him in a few moments, please show me your glory in verse 18. In verse 19, then he said, God, that is, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before you. I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. He's trying to say to him, I'm a sovereign God. You can't order me around, but I'm going to have compassion on you because you've been my servant. I'm going to let you see all my goodness. But he said, you cannot see my face, for no man shall see me and live. God was protecting him. God was saying, you can't handle unadulterated God. You can't handle unadulterated presence. So here's how I'm going to do it. He said to him in verse 21, the Lord said, here is a place by me, and you shall stand on the rock. So it shall be while my glory passes by, that I will put you in the cleft of the rock, and I will cover you with my hand while I pass by. Wouldn't we just love to see the hand of God? Wouldn't we just love to experience the touch of God? Then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. This is such a privilege that Moses has asked for and God has granted. And then he was able to find himself in the presence of the Lord. That's a great blessing. That's a great privilege that Moses was afforded by his God. We find out a little bit later, and we'll talk about that in a few days, that it made a difference in Moses. It actually changed even his appearance when he saw the backside of God. But for the moment, what we need to understand is that Moses had faith like many of us might not have faith. Moses was bold in his faith, and he asked God to see him, to literally see him, and God rewarded him with a glimpse of his presence. I ask that today. God, give us just a glimpse of your presence. We may not be quite as close to you as Moses, but Lord, in our prayer times, in our Bible reading, in our church services, in our worship times, corporately in prayer, individually in prayer, God, just let us get a glimpse of your glory. It helps us to know you. It helps us to believe. It helps us to feel the presence of God near us. And that's what I request from him as well. God, just let me see your glory. And I believe he will when we ask him. We got to be ready, but I believe he will when we ask him. Mm. And that's the word for today. Good to see several of you on here with us. Kathleen Palace, Ken Woodard, Richard Britt. Whatever time of day or night you watch, we're glad you're here. So when you log on at midnight or 3 in the morning or 6 a.m., whatever time it is, we're happy to have you with us. And it's our honor and privilege to bring this short word from God every day, Sunday through Friday. Spend some time with God. It'll make a difference in your day. It will transform your world, and it will be the best thing you do all day long. Spend time with God. Please know we love you. We're praying for you. And I look forward to seeing each of you again tomorrow.